Healing. Y'all climb on in the building. Y'all see we got some very interesting things we're gonna be discussing and talking about today. Y'all see I'm going over the truth behind food addiction. You know, a lot of people been wanting me to, tackle this subject lately. So that's why I've been talking about food a lot lately, but we finna dive deep. Why are you addicted to your foods and how to kick the addiction or how to kick the curve of this addiction that's basically consuming your life. The reason why you have diabetes mellitus, the reason why you have a hyperglycemia, the reason why you have liver disease, the reason why you have vaginal infections, yeast infections, candida. I mean, truly, we're finna dive deep and show you how the food industries are connected directly to the pharmaceutical companies, and they are pushing this agenda to make you fat. They is pushing this agenda of obesity. They are pushing this agenda to get you on their sugars, to get you on their salts, to get you on the lipids, or what we call fats. They got names for this stuff. They're literally, it's scientists that's connected. The food industry are literally hiring scientists to chemically make and formulate your food to keep you addicted. And we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get deep in it today. So y'all climb on in the building. Peace, shalom, shalom. Peace, love, light, and healing for everybody that's climbing in. And look, let's talk about it. If y'all can hear me well, and if y'all can see me well, type in some nines. If y'all can hear me well, and if y'all can see me well, type in some nines. Let's see what we got. If y'all can hear me and see me, type in some nines. We are going to be taking live calls probably towards the last 30 minutes of this segment. So let's get to it. Y'all climb in. I'm going to wait for a couple more people to get in. We're talking about the truth behind food addiction. What is food addiction? How does the brain look when you look at a brain that's on foods like this, or that have become addictive to the foods, versus somebody that's addicted to opium, somebody that's addicted to drugs, heroin, cocaine, DMT, crack cocaine, any of these disease that we're talking about. If you truly just look at the brain, it's a doctor or a journalist. His name is Michael Musk. If you look at him, and he's very cool with scientists, they have literally traveled the world and just, studied the brains of obese people, study the brains of black communities that's just been on sugar all their lives, that's been on candy and junk foods and preservatives and additives. They studied their brains and literally got pictures of their MRIs and of their brain imaging, and then they compared it to heroin and crack addict's brain, and it's the same. You can't even tell the difference between a crack addict and somebody that's addicted to junk foods, or somebody that's addicted to bleached white flour, somebody that's addicted to processed sugar, somebody that's addicted to high salt diets. The dopamines in the brain fire off the same. The hypothalamus gland looks exactly the same. So this means sugar. This mean fats, this mean all these cholesterol building foods, and this mean all these high salt diets or controlled substance. These things are drugs, and they are neurotoxins, and it is killing us. It's killing us. We are quick to down the crackhead, and we are quick to down the heroin addict. We're even quick to down ones that are smoking cigarettes, or those who are smoking marijuana and smoking these plants, or somebody that's taking shrooms. But we yet to judge ourselves on how we're eating, and we're eating drugs that are causing worse problems than the cigarettes, eating food that is causing worse problems than the crack cocaine, eating foods that is so-called food. I'm gonna call this so-called food because it's not food, because they're literally taking all of the phytonutrients and the biophotons out of it. And the moment that you take the nutrients out of the food begins to die. So the whole question is, how does it still look like it's living? Well, they're putting all types of preservatives and additives on it, and then they putting it on the shelves, and this stuff be on shelves for months, y'all. Months. And they're literally going in and changing the expiration date on this stuff. Well, guess what? It is a high preservative, salt. Guess what else? Sugar, bleach white flour. Why do you think they bleach it? Because they know that they have to have a long shelf life for they can make a bang for their buck. So they're literally giving you food that's not food at all. And the only thing you getting out of it is the sugar, is the salt, is the preservatives, is the fat, It's all of these things, the dextrose, the dextrose, the maltose. You're not even getting the simple sugars that you need from these foods. So these foods are literally harming your body, just like alcohol, just like cigarettes, just like crack cocaine, just like all this stuff. Where you think the word dope come from? The word dope come from the word dopamine. That's why when we see something, we call it dope. And we say we like it, we addicted to it. Man, she dope. Man, that music was dope. Let me listen to it again. That is nothing but a small word or a root word to the word dopamine. Dopamine is produced by the brain, just like epinephrine, norepinephrine. These are called melanin transmitters. These are different type of chemical factories that that fires off in your brain, fires off in your hypothalamus gland, that helps you control your emotions, all controlled by melatonin and serotonin. So dopamine, so high dopamine things, or that gives you a high dopamine response, or what we're going to call they basically call it the happy drug, or the treating drug, something where you feel like you're finna get paid to treat. You notice if you look at it through an MRI, the brain just start firing off neutrons and it shows up very red. That's the dopamine high. But what you see if you start studying, the more you get on these foods, the dopamine effect don't start happening no more. It actually starts to sterilize all of the chemical factories in your brain and dehydrate your brain. So foods that are high in processed sugars, and foods that are high in salts, these iodized salts, or what we're going to call isolates, foods that are high in fats, these act on the body just like alcohol. These act and corrode the cells of the body just like acids. These act and corrode the cells of the body and dehydrate the cells of the body just like dope, just like crack cocaine, just like heroin, just like acid, LSD, just like DMT, all these different drugs. And what we have to understand is all of these things come from plants. What's happening is they're taking the phytonutrients out and then they adding things into it and giving you the plant. You see that? Cocaine comes from where? A plant. Heroin comes from where? A poppy plant. Sugar comes from where? A sugarcane plant. All these things come from plants. So if it comes from a plant, then why is it not good for us? That's because they're isolating the chemistry, because plants die. The moment that you pluck a plant from the ground, it starts to lose its life expectancy. It starts dying because it's no longer connected to its etheric root until it goes through a process called iontrophoresis, where it literally gets the minerals and get all the hydration from the soil of the earth. So the moment you disconnect it from its sources, it begins to die. So what they do is they dry it out. They dehydrate the hell out of it. You know, because in order to even make it last long, you have to dehydrate it. So guess what they do? They suck all the water out of it, and guess what is left with? All these isolants, all these salts, high salts. Then they add more salt to it. All these sugars. Then they add extra sugar to it. Then they bleach it. Then what they do is they put it in these incubators and they mix it with the bones and the bone marrow of pigs and of cattle and of cows and of all other types of things. Sometimes they put rat poison in it. I mean, once we get into what we finna get into, it's gonna blow your mind, and you wonder why when you hungry, you get hangry, or you get pissed off, you get mad, you become rage, because you are literally having withdrawal symptoms because you need a food, you need this certain things. Or when a woman gets sad, she immediately runs to sugars and chocolates and ice creams because she's chasing that dopamine effect. She's chasing dope. Literally, she's chasing the dope. And you see what happens to it. These scientists, man, look, they're the food industry behind Shop and Save, behind all Whole Foods, all these different food industries and grocery stores, in the company, the makers of these foods, these cereal brands. Literally, their employees is a streamline of scientists. It's not even regular people working. Now, it's probably regular people working in the shipping department and through the website. But who's making and producing the food? That shit being made in a straight laboratory. We got the documents. I'm going to show y'all some documents today. So if y'all ready to get this started, type in some nines, and we're going to go and dive straight deep into this, because this is, man, this is crucial. And I'm going to show y'all how to kick the addiction. So through certain chemicals inside of your brain that they're silencing, if we can get these chemicals being produced again by your melanin neurotransmitters and by your glandular highway, and if we can get them to produce more than these additives and preservatives that they've been giving you to die down these certain chemical factors, then people can quit cold turkey, or people can wean themselves off these things. People don't have to get heart disease, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, diabetes. People don't have to be cancerous from all the acidic residue that these things leave behind. You see what I'm saying? So it's certain ways that you can kick this addiction. It's just they're not teaching it to you, because the moment they teach that to you, then you're not going to be a consumer and you're not going to be buying their foods anymore. The whole thing is to get you addicted. That's the whole thing. Whole thing. All right. We ready? Okay, I see some nines. So I want to start this off like this. All right. If I was a food company, let's start it off like this. If I was a food company and I wanted to make millions and millions, matter of fact, we're going to go billions, because that's how much they make. I wanted to make billions of dollars off of the people buying my food. But if the food was holistic and I give it to them, they become full faster. So they're not going to be hungry as often. Or if I give it to them, it's going to be very nutritive to the body. So they might not even need to eat another meal for the day. All right. Or if I give it to them, it tastes so flavorful and so good that they're going to always depend on the natural occurring substance. What is the first thing I'm going to do? The first thing I'm going to do, because I need to make $1 billion. I need to make $1 billion. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find a way that when they eat this food, it feels like they are never getting full, never getting full. That way they can keep eating, they can keep eating, they can keep digging their hand in that bag of chips until it's all gone. And then when it's all gone, you want more. So you go get another bag of chips. Or when the candy bar are gone, you want more. So you go buy another candy bar. When the alcohol is all gone, you go buy another fifth or another pint. Or when all this food is gone, you want to keep eating. They actually have a word called vanish caloric density, y'all. We're going to look this stuff up. Vanish or vanishing caloric or calorie density. And it's basically where they give you a crunching effect, where the scientists then came up with a way where if you chew on a chip, and this is just one, let's not even get into the chickens. We just going to talk about chips, where you can chew on a chip and the chip will instantly melt in your mouth by a way of reaction to your salivary glands and your salivary solvent that's inside of your mouth, and it literally depletes all of the calories and everything, and the only thing you left over with is with the taste. But when you swallow it, it's damn near in a liquid form and it's not even whole no more. So it tricks your brain, and your brain literally looks through this melanin transmitter and say, dang, that tastes so good, but I didn't get full off of it, or I didn't feel nothing going down my esophagus to my stomach, so I need to eat more. So you keep eating and keep eating and keep eating. Now, remember, this is a person that want to make $1 billion off his food. So he's going to need you to keep buying and buying and buying his food. So the first thing they did was they took out all the nutritive factors of the food, because nutrients is what fulfills the body. Remember, the body doesn't need the food. The body needs the fuel that the food brings in the body. You shit out, my bad, you defecate the macro, and that's where you get poop from. The micro or the phytonutrients is what you need. That's what you need. These things most of them are only seen under a magnifying glass, under a microscope. You can't even see this with the naked eye. Showing you what your body needs to thrive off of is not the macro. The macro be in the toilet. The micro is what your body needs, because through the blood capillaries, it is fed to the bloodstream and then it's distributed to 150 trillion cells inside of your body. What they have done was they have taken all the macro phytobiophoton nutrients out of the food, for you won't feel fulfilled, for you won't feel full, and for your body will not rebuild off of it. And then they replaced it with these sweeteners, with these artificial sweeteners, with bleach white sugar, with processed sugar and bleach white flour, the bones of gelatin that comes from porks and pigs, they bone marrow. All types of stuff, and goat's nuts. This is where you get your dyes colors from, or your candy cane and all of that. It literally comes from the guts, the nuts of a goat. They semen. So you eating this stuff and it tastes damn good, right? And the reason why I'm saying it tastes damn good, because this will damn you. It's condemned. It's very condemnable. It will condemn you. It will damn your body because there's no phytonutrients in it. Now, once they take it out, this automatically becomes a drug because now it's isolated chemistry inside of it, right? Already become a drug. Not only does it become a drug, but the sweeteners in it taste so good and so stimulating to your body, right? And it's producing chemicals that it produces something called dopamine. Now, this dopamine is a natural chemical substance that gives you something like oxytocin. It makes you bind to the food and it gives you a chemical high. So you're eating this stuff and you're not even tripping off the fact that you're not full because you high as hell off the dopamine that the food that don't have any phytonutrients in it is giving you. So now you constantly eating it and you constantly eating it, but you're never ever full. Now, these things are full with 3 ratios. It's full with processed sugar, which is a neurotoxin. It's full with isolated salt, which is a neurotoxin and a major dehydrator. And then it's full with a lipid fat, which is mucus forming as hell because it breaks down into pus forming foods. And all of these are acidic, by the way. But you're so high off the dopamine from the sweets because it done grabbed your melanated taste buds that you're constantly eating this death. So that's the first place they get you. Take the nutrients out, for they will never feel fulfilled, but make it taste sweet enough for they to keep coming back and back for more. Now, the second part is they noticed that it started getting our people high. And they noticed that high, because remember, melanin is an absorption factor. That's the thing about melanin. That's why you see more black people on heroin and crack cocaine than any other nation. Now, I know that they dropped it off into our neighborhoods, but now it's distributed worldwide. But you see, it's always the black people that's so-called black people that's more addicted to it. And that's because of the nature of our melanin. It's an absorption factor. It absorbs things and it like to study things. And the more it study and the more it have addictive behavior, and it want more and more to constantly keep on studying. So due to your melanin, you already have an addictive personality because you're a melanated person. And these people know this. Remember, they have hundreds of scientists making their food, tasting the crunch taste. They even got it down to where the melanin receptors inside of your mouth crunches. They know that certain things cannot have a crunch to it. You know what I'm saying? Or they know we like fried food, and the reason why we like fried food because when you bite into that chicken, even though that you want the meat tender, you want the skin that was put in that bleach white flour to have a crunch to it, and you assimilate that with chips. But this all goes back to slavery and post-traumatic slavery syndrome. This is a traumatic experience that you had, and that's why people that's nervous bite on their fingernails because it's crunchy. They are literally playing on your melanin being abused and used from your ancestors over 400 years ago and applying this same simplistic analogy to you, and you're buying into it. But instead of weaponizing slave masters, now they're weaponizing your food, and it's still the same addiction. Just how if master got sick, you said, "We sick, master." If master house burnt down, you said, "Master, our house burnt down." You see that? If master got his white woman pregnant, you said, "Master, we finna have a baby." It's the same way with the food. Same way. Even though you know that food is bad for you, even though you know that food is oppressing you, even though you know that food is depressing to you, you can't kick the food and you can't get rid of it because the dopamine effect, the illusion, and how it tastes so good. Just like the house Negro, he thought he was living better than the Negro in the field when he's not. The same illusion, the same analogy, and they using the same chemicals to keep you oppressed. Now the slavery just went from a slave master. Now you enslaved by your belly. Now you enslaved by video games. Now you enslaved by technology, electronics. Now you enslaved by lust, by things like that. But nothing have changed. The nature and the science behind the plot and this diabolical scheme against the so-called Negro race is still in effect, in full effect. What they do, they just change the blinders. They change the view and the perception. And you're so doped up off the food that you do not see behind the smoke and mirrors, and you can't see through this creative construct that I'm going to call a holographic matrix universe. See, what I did once I kicked my addiction, I can look behind the veil and look behind the curtains and see what's really going on. So that is what's going on with the food. First thing they do is they take the nutrients up out of it, because anything that got nutrients in it still have life in it. Well, if life is unplugged from its source, it dies. They know that. Well, this stuff got to sit on shelves for months before the Negro go buy it. So they have to take all the oxygen and the nutrients out of it. And then when they do that, they literally are vacuuming all of the phytonutrients and oxygen out of it. And anytime you suck anything out of the life of it, it becomes back to the ashes that was created from. This is called isolated chemistry, because now you have all this chemistry just sitting around and you don't have no nutrient factor or no blood, no magnesium, no chlorophyll or nothing to take these constituents and bring it to all the other cellulose or parts of the cells that's inside the plant. So now you just got a lot of minerals just sitting in one spot. Now they cook the minerals and they isolate the minerals. Then they add things to it to make it last even longer. So you literally biting into a candy bar, or eating some chips, or eating a piece of chicken, and you thinking it's tasting mighty good and that it's good for the soul. But when it tastes good, it's just an illusion that they're treating